The Viga Light started out as an open exploration of both form and materials. What would it look like if we took a 3D printed structure and combined it with wood and fabric elements? Could we make those elements integral parts of a functional piece? So here you're seeing some of the computer-aided design elements as we've iterated on things like the diffusers and the shades and how you may attach it or suspend it. You can see all the different components as they lay out. And here you're seeing one of our Bamboo Labs machines that's printing in that color fab stone fill, but this is in their green, which almost feels like a grass mat. It's a really vibrant color, but it's also really rich. The texture and tangibility of it's amazing. The tactile feel is really, really nice on that material. And then here you see the diffuser. We print these in either PETG, sometimes polycarbonate. We've been experimenting here with color, shape, size, that kind of thing. A lot of it has to do with how the light quality comes out. It also helps kind of just soften and throw the light in an even way. Here you see all the components that go into the light. We've tried to use things that either make it easy to service or repair, and that are also readily available in most markets. And the idea here is that, anything that might get a little bit not be safe for us to make our own, like a plug or socket, we've tried to find really good quality off the shelf parts. And this is kind of the inner wiring capsule. So you can see this is the bottom side. You put the magnets in for the diffuser, and then you also slide in the ceramic bulb socket here. And then obviously here's where your wires come up through. And you can see in some shots where I've kind of recessed areas for the Wago connectors to go. It kind of like puts them into place so that when we put the wooden dowels in, it kind of holds everything in the interior in place. It's locking together like a bit of a Japanese timber joinery or something. And then here you see Dom putting in the ceramic light socket, and we've done all this to be screwed together. All the screws are I believe they're M2 stainless cap heads. And then here we're still trying to perfect this technique. We've been playing with this fabric covered wire, and there's two different variations. One that's a synthetic, like a rayon or polyester, and those are amazing because you just kind of trim it with a bit of tape and a razor, and then you just barely touch it with a lighter or a torch, and it kind of like seals itself up. But the ones that are a little bit more natural fiber, they fray super easy, and it makes them not only really difficult to work with, but you can't make them super tidy. Like you wind up having to use some level of tape or maybe a shrink tubing or whatever. But I will also say Dom was a very meticulous man, so he's going the extra mile here. But yeah, we really like this cable. We think it brings an element of personality to the light, and it's fairly readily available. And the idea is like eventually, if you wanted to, you could change this out for a different color, different texture. You could go with a whole different type, like instead of a twisted pair, you could get the more solid rope types, and we can offer those too. So it gives us some flexibility in how we adapt the light over time, or do limited editions or what have you. And then here in a minute, you'll see we do this shrink tubing so that when it goes through the strain relief that we've printed in TPU, it kind of gives it a little bit more support. But then beyond that, you'll see here in a minute, Dom's going to set these up with the Wago after he puts them through the strain relief. And it just makes it like easy to not only assemble these, which, saves us a little time and passes a little bit of value on to you all, but, it makes it really, really easy to service the light. If you need to change the cord, or say it gets frayed or cut by accident or whatever, it makes it super easy to go back and change it. And we're using these kind of off the shelf, as high quality as we can, like components that we can connect these with. And in the future, we may have our own kind of custom pigtail cords made, so that it's a little less time us putting it together, and we can use those in so many projects. We've got some audio projects in mind, and definitely more lighting. And so in theory, that's the type of thing that I don't necessarily mind creating a bit of stock, because we know we'll utilize it at some point. Whereas the rest of the design concept is really around kind of on demand, right? Or very adaptable, agile kind of workflows so you can change over time or adapt to any issues we may encounter. And then, of course, evolve the design as time moves on and trends change. As you can see, this part can be a little bit tedious. This is why we're very curious about having some made that are actually overmolded. I love the look of these clear ones, but it's just time consuming. Nothing can really be done fast if you want to be safe about it. And now this is a simple thumb switch. We're also exploring some different types of dimmers. We struggled to find a dimmer that we like that is well, what's the word I'm looking for? That's modular like this, where you can buy just the dimmer and then attach it to any type of cable that feels quality. So anyway, we're on that hunt. I would ultimately like to have one that has a dimmer on it. We sourced the LED bulb specifically so they could be dimmable. They're a pretty low light anyway. This is very akin to like a reading light or an accent light, but still would be nice if you wanted to keep it on as like maybe a night light. You could dim it down if you wanted. Here you see the Wago connectors going in. We decided to use these instead of soldering the wires because they'll allow disassembly and repair to be much easier. Now you see a bit of the final assembly with the strain relief. We use stainless screws there again too, and that kind of holds everything in. And then we kind of loved this, idea of the magnets and allowing you to not only really easily access the bulb for changing it out, versus some lights where it's all soldered in together and it's pretty much got to scrap the whole thing. This lets you kind of swap the bulbs as you need to. We do recommend only using LED in these. I think if you put halogen in this thing, it'd be very bad. The heat generated would just melt a lot of the components around it. But for LED, it's been awesome. We've done a lot of testing with it. And as you see, when we put these dowels in, it's really cool. This is the Japanese joinery thing I was talking about earlier. It kind of locks everything into place, and it's super, super sturdy, which is really cool. Like kind of a no screw assembly there. And here you see kind of in its finished state. It was a fun project. I definitely learned a lot from this process. Like the light itself has come out pretty well. I think I'm probably just over it from because this was our first time doing something like this end to end. So yeah, while I learned a lot, it's definitely I'm sick of seeing the thing, right? But we've had a lot of folks that said they liked it, so we did decide that we may offer these up. We may do a really short run at first of 25 or so. We'd be curious to know what you all think, if it's something you'd be interested in buying. Yeah, and we look forward to hearing feedback. And if you guys have something like any part of this that you would like us to maybe dive a little deeper on and produce a standalone video, be totally game. There's a lot we could talk about here, but we just didn't want to go down too many rabbit holes until we had some idea of is this even interesting to you all? It kind of goes from initial concept and design through to like the prototyping and iteration phase, and then finally, really tweaking the design for assembly, repair, and ultimately getting it ready for offering it up to the public. We still have some things to do around packaging and branding and things like that. We hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.